101.5. Beautiful song there for your entertainment and, of course, your enjoyment. This beautiful Tuesday morning. We're still in the month of June. Today is the 2nd of June, and time for us to have our main conversation for today. Now, as I speak, we're also live on YouTube on Love 99.5. We're live on Facebook as well. Now, our conversation this morning has to do with a trip the President of the Republic and back to the UK, or let's say London, where there was a town hall meeting, and he was asked questions. Today, what we intend to do is quite simple. We want to share with you the questions asked of the President, the responses the President gave, and then we will, just together with you, analyze the responses and see whether that is indeed the way to go. So, as I speak, while many Ghanaians were going about their daily activities here at home in Ghana, the President of the Republic of Ghana was thousands of miles away in London facing Ghanaians in the diaspora in a live town hall engagement or meeting or discussion. Now, it was a rare moment of direct accountability as questions flew in from every direction. Now, from the devastating floods that continue to threaten lives and property in Ghana, and you know that yesterday, for example, when we talked about the flood issues, we showed you a daily graphic story of 1960, when rains came down in Accra and was flooding in Accra. So 66 years on the line, we're still battling floods when the rains come, not just in Accra, but in Ghana. Now, there were also alarming rates of road accident questions that was put before the President, the promise of a 24-hour economy, the World Cup, whether we'll be taking funds from Ghana to go witness the Black Stars play. There were questions on job creation, infrastructure, and the general direction of our nation. For some, it was a chance, to hear the President's vision firsthand. For others, it was an opportunity to demand answers to pressing national concerns. Now, what, like I said, we'll be doing is to share with you some of the sounds, some of the responses from the President. And then once we do that, we'll, assess amongst ourselves, including you, because you are main, key, guests on this matter. We'll hear from you what you make of it. Now, we'll also be speaking to a few people, like we'll be speaking to Ben Ajinimboateng. He is the head of the Physical Planning KMA. We'll be speaking to our very good friend, Professor, William Zaka. He's an engineer. He understands the road issues. Now, he'll be coming in when we share that soundbite of road accidents, because there was a question on road accidents and all during the town hall meeting. Now, first off, we want to talk about sanitation. We want to talk about indiscipline. We want to talk about the flood situation, because there was a question to the President as to what is being done about the flood situation, as to why we even still have to battle floods in this current 2026. Take a listen to the response the President gave relating to the flood situation.
The flooding in Accra is not an engineering problem. It is just a problem of indiscipline. It's not an engineering problem, it's a problem of indiscipline. We have drains, and everybody says, why don't you do sealed drains? But the problem is, when we do sealed drains, people drink sachet water, they eat papaya in those styrofoam plastics, and they just dump them anywhere. And these plastics wash into the drain, and they go and block the drain. And so if you have to unclog the drain, you have to remove all the drain covers and clean it out. You clean it out, you cover it again. In the next 3, 4, 5 months, they have clogged again. But that is not even the major problem. The major problem is the location of Accra. You have the Kwapim mountain range, and you have the Atlantic Ocean. Before people came to Accra, you had the Lafa stream, you had the Densu, you had the Sakumo stream, you had the Kole stream, you had the Odo stream. All of them were rainwater that falls in the mountains that flow through to the Atlantic Ocean. Then you come and build a city in the path of those streams. What do you expect the streams to do? And even if you build, leave the causeways. If you come to London, you see the canals in the city. If you go and build a house in that canal, where will the water go? It will go back into people's houses. Unfortunately, Nana Misremu, our traditional rulers are selling plots in streams. It's not these Nananuma I'm talking about. We have places they call Ramsar sites. These Ramsar sites are wetlands. And they said that migratory birds come from Europe during the winter. They come and spend vacation with us in Africa. Then when they finish the vacation and it's summer, they fly back. And they decided to protect the Ramsar sites because of the migratory birds. But let me tell you what the Ramsar sites do. They are wetlands. So when they receive the water from the Kwapim mountain range, the Ramsar sites are huge wetlands. So they absorb the water into the wetlands and discharge the water gradually into the ocean. So if you build and you fill and build, you fill and build, you fill and build, you are reducing the size of the Ramsar site, of the wetland. And so when the water comes, what is left cannot contain the water. And so it will overflow and flood people's houses. I've seen from the air, helicopter, a stream coming from the Kwapim range, and then it reaches somewhere and they've built across it. And so the stream has nowhere to continue. So it will flood your houses and flood houses of people behind. Now when government takes action and begins breaking people's houses out of the waterway, the same people will say, hey, hey, that's our problem. And part of the problem is the local councils and the assemblies. Unfortunately, our councils are not working as good as yours. You will find a house in a waterway and somebody signed a building permit for them to build there. Look at the Weja Dam. The Weja Dam provides about 30–40% of Accra's water. It has a spillway, and every year when it rains, the water reaches a level. And when it reaches that level, they have to open the spillway, otherwise it can break the dam and cause destruction downstream. In the dry season, these same traditional rulers and Shikong Cheme, owners of land, will sell land to people in the spillway of the Weja Dam. And so you start building, and then when the rains come and they open the spillway, your house is flooded with water. And he says, why isn't government doing anything about the flooding problem? It's because you went and built in a place you shouldn't have built. And so we need, one, to punish those who signed the permits for that. And so the district chief executives, I told the Minister of Local Government, we should find out who are signing the permits for people to build in these waterways. And my minister misspoke. She said we'll transfer them to the north. We're not transferring them to the north, we're sacking them.
We're not transferring them to the north, we are sacking them. That is to say, those in the town councils, those in the assemblies who are signing documents and allowing people to build on wetlands or Ramsar sites and all that, we're not going to transfer them. That statement to transfer them to the north was an unfortunate one. But this time around, we've been told that, well, they'll be sacked. All right, so that's the president's answer to a question about why there's persistent flooding. He says it's not an engineering problem, but rather it's more of an indiscipline problem. So what we've decided to do this morning, together as my team and production team and all that, we want to do this ourselves, no experts, because some of the time, some of them, they come and they hold some of the answers close to their chest.
Politically correct.
So we want to have a bite at it. So you've heard the president. The question simply was, why are we still battling flooding in Accra? So let's focus on Accra. Let's look at Ghana as a whole. And yesterday, like I said, during our conversation on flooding, because yesterday was the 1st of June, the rains are here. They're going to come heavy. In fact, today there's going to be a thunderstorm in the afternoon. So why are we still battling floods 66 years on when we had some floods in Accra in 1960 of April? So I'll also have a bite. And then we'll play another sound for you from the president, take a bite at it, and then we activate the phone lines. Because this is Ghana. We need to ensure that there's development, there's progress, there's growth. So, Leo, Eugene, who wants to start?
Well,
all right. So, Leo, you start the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think it's both problems. One is indiscipline, and the second one is also engineering problem. And the president has basically touched on every bit of the indiscipline problem that is causing the floods. But I also want to, bring into focus the fact that these things can be solved using engineering. For instance, if Accra is choked, or if people still want to have places to build, then what mitigation factors are we going to put in place to make sure that we build in the proper places or in the proper way? Are we building up? Are we expanding horizontally? All of those things need to come into play, and then we can strictly say, even though you are not building on Ramsey sites, we are still going to get places for people to put up construction or get houses or accommodation, and this one can be solved through engineering. So as much as I agree with the president saying this is an indisciplined problem, which I think frankly or fairly is carries the bigger weight, the problem is also engineering problem, which I think has been neglected over the years. What about in 1960? When there were no people building on the Ramsey sites, but we have reports of people.
The word is Ramsar, not Ramsey.
Ramsar
site, yeah.
Yeah. So in the 1960s, there was still flooding in Accra. There are plenty of reports on it. Over the years, we've been seeing it, repeating itself. People were not building in waterways during those days. Those places were cordoned off. The buffer zones were being followed, but there was still flooding in some cases. So, which means, as much as we talk about the indiscipline, the engineering side too needs to be addressed.
I hear you. Your thoughts on the president's response?
Yeah. Now, David, I think that first and foremost, I think that it's a good thing that the president did. Ghana has a huge population in the diaspora, especially the UK. So I think that is good. I hope that when it comes to Ghana, and I know when it does the regional tours, they do these town halls. As it comes to Ashanti region, I'm here too.
No, yes,
I think that it gives the opportunity for him to not get too much rehearsed notes from ministers, lie to him about what's happening and all that. But David, I think it's a salad of issues that the president talked about. Casually, for me, the reason why our city is still flooded are about 10 points: poor drainage system, building on waterways and wetlands, improper waste disposal, rapid urbanization, loss of wetlands, heavy rainfall and climate change, low-lying geography, weak enforcement of planning regulations. David, I disagree with the president that if he says it's not an engineering problem. David, let's talk about urbanization, for example. You have talked about a bit of that. Now, David, when we look at Ghana's population, for example, let's take Accra, since he used that as the microcosm, or as the, give me a word, as the picture for the country. When you look at Greater Accra, for example, in 2000, the population in Greater Accra was 2.9 million. 10 years later, in 2010, the population was 4 million. So, David, what's the number there? That's about 1.1 million increase, right? In 2021, 11 years after, it's 5.4 million. That's an increase of what? 1.4 million in 10 years. So, meaning that when you do the math, it means that averagely about 100. When you look at the population, we are adding on. Let me do that for you just here. In 10 years, we are adding on about 140,000 every year. Now you ask yourself, as we urbanize, where are they living? Family sizes are growing. Where are they going? Which spaces are they going into? It's not as say, can be anywhere where there's a bell like that. Can be any or something like that.
Yeah.
So, David, the government themselves have failed. The government have failed. And that is an engineering problem, because you need to engineer the city to know that population is growing. And if population is growing, how are we also engineering the city that the burst in population will fit into that without destroying ecological advantage? I thought Mahama at a point was even a climate scientist, because while he was explaining the Ramsey sites and all that, there's a beautiful explanation and all that. That's how it is. And God is not stupid to create that. David, the last time talking about electricity, you've lived in Kumasi for 30 years, right? David, look at Ejeso. 10 years ago, was Ejeso the road? Was it the way it was 10 years ago? No, more people have moved there. But David, ask yourself, as people are building Ejesu Bruni Krum, that's why I had about 4 different Ejesos. Ejesu Bruni Krum, Ejesu Kokurabum, all those areas. Ask yourself, the city planners, what have they done in those areas? Which schools are there? Have they taken SHS there? The water system there? So, David, if all these things are not there, then people will be forced that the little amenities that is available in the major city, let's force and get land there. I don't know if you get me.
Yeah.
So David, urbanization, yes, so I disagree. It's not an engineering problem. It is an engineering problem. David, it come back to the 1 point, is it 2 million? Because the last time Prof. Haji said we are wrong. It's not 1 point, it's about 2 million or so.
The housing deficit, 2.4.
Exactly.
And then we build 1,000 somewhere,
Then,
which is a
the ones I agree with the president on is the traditional authority. But David, Article 243 is clear. Whether someone signs the lease or whatever, the administration of that district is not the chief. Mm-hmm. Yes, when you read I think Act 1036 or so, the Land Act, they have the highest interest, the alluded interest in lands. It's vested in them and all that. But it must conform with the political administration of how the place is supposed to be engineered. Because the chief cannot have an unfettered access and say that because there is a land, I'm selling the land. When the land is a Ramsar site or a wetland, that's Ramsar site are ecologically protected zones that are vested in what? Politicians and the political authority of the day. But because they themselves will try one plot amano or nubenya kakrentino, then they do what they do. So David, I agree with the president on the last 2 points he raised. The complicitousness or the complicity of MMDAs and officials, the chiefs, and some of them are, just criminals. I mean, they are doing this blatantly criminal. Because the last time the Ghana Water issued a statement, don't blame us for the Wager floods. We are not responsible. Yeah. When we built the Wager Dam, we said that there will be spillages, and we left clear demarcations where the waters will go. Who sold the lands for people to build around the dam?
Who gave the permission?
So my only disagreement on this is it's an engineering problem, and there's also a failure of the state. Because David, yes, we have the drains, but David, the drains, most of the drains were constructed was constructed in the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. David, look at the Tech Junction, the drains there. When was the last time we expanded the drains in Tech Junction? But the population and activities in Tech Junction have increased.
All right, so let me take a quick bite at it as well. And I to some extent agree with the two of you on some of the things that you've enumerated. So, for example, you are saying that you believe that is an engineering problem. But like Leo mentioned rightly in his submission, and like we said yesterday, we had structures in the 60s. People had not encroached on some of these Ramsar sites and all that. But in 1960, when the rains came down, there were floods in Accra. Was it an engineering problem? I would say no. I would say it has to do with the same behavioral problems that we have right now, where we litter anyhow, where we do things haphazardly, or we do things without thinking. So yes, a bit of engineering problem might be in there, but I believe that the greater part of it is the indiscipline. Then the indiscipline would even come in where I will get up, knowing very well that this is supposed to be a Ramsar site or a wetland, yet I would pay for it and build on it. And in building, I'm not taking into cognizance modern engineering, style of building, so that at least I can manage the situation where floods will not occur. But we buy those same lands and we build as if we're building on a normal land we have acquired, and that's a problem.
But Dave, is that not where the MMDAs come?
So I was building my point. So if he blames the chief or the chiefs, I agree, because as a Sibia and Hawka, as a Sibia Wura, so if somebody says, "Well, I'm building on this land," it means the person has had a documentation of a sort that enables or allows him to be able to build. So who gave the land out? Now, even if that person gives out the land, we have administrators or administrative officers whose job it is to scrutinize some of these things. So we have our planners, our town planners, for example, whose job it is to say, okay, fine, I'm not going to allow you, although you've acquired this land legitimately, I'm not going to allow you to build because of A, B, C, and D. And even if the person says to build, we will use technology, we use proper engineering to put up a certain building that will not create a problem for us in terms of the flood. But again, I ask myself, how many of these administrators we have, whether assemblies and the DCE, the MCEs and co, how many of them have what it takes to say they are challenging something from a chief? Yesterday we were told of a certain place where somebody is building. And yesterday when that issue came up, and I queried, we were told that, well, it had been signed, and we were told that, well, they're planting coconut. It tells you that planning and some strategies have gone into it to ensure the right things are done so floods do not come. If the president says he's going to sack people who are in the assemblies and he's going to sack them, I don't think where I sit right now, I believe him. I believe the president for so many things, but on this very one, I don't believe him.
At least when it's actually done.
Until it happens.
It's about, yes, but hold on 1 second. I'm saying this because we are battling Galamsey. That is killing our people, destroying our environment. What were we told? That we would move away police commanders in Galamsey areas that are still rife.
They did it at a point.
And then we would even move the DCs and people from there. When was the last time such an action was taken?
It never happened.
Is Galamsey not still going on?
Yeah.
So when you come around and you come and tell me that you would sack them, you have not gotten a good track record for that. For areas where the MMDAs are there, the DCE, MCE and co are there, and Galamsey is still ongoing, and you have sacked them, it gives me the belief that, that he will do the same for this.
And David, if you're talking about the chiefs, I just received a call.
Yeah.
And you know this. You know the Dakujum from where that school is, the popular school, Apple
Valley.
I'm being told that all those places were waterlogged.
I have spoken about this countless times on
the
this
station.
I've spoken on this.
That entire
but
stretch.
when the person also investigated, the same answer the NADMO boys gave on the Kwamo China Mall Fumesha thing, it's the same thing. When they went in, the lease is from somewhere. You cannot.
But that's what I'm saying. I remember vividly that's Ramsar site.
Yeah.
When we had conversations about it, Ben told us that, it was a problem. But what we were going to do was to ensure that the structure that will be placed there will meet the right engineering plan.
Yeah,
so that's a flood. Yes, we did severally. And I think that even now, as we speak, when you raise that place, does it flood? Does it flood?
No,
it does not flood because the right things have been done. For me to conclude on my submission,
so engineering comes in here again.
So David's point,
right?
If I get David's point is largely on indiscipline and the complicity of the MMDAs and chiefs.
Yeah,
that's David's
But
point.
To sum it all up, why will I carry my refrigerator, my old television box, my furniture, and dump it in an open drain? Knowing very well that my conscience should speak to me that this is wrong. Because before they do it, they look to the left, they look to the right, and then they dump. If you fail or refuse to dump in drains, if I refuse to do same, if you do that same, won't our drains be empty so water can flow? It is meant for water to flow in them, not refuse. Whose job it is to monitor and ensure that...
Exactly. So Leo, I'm coming. I know we want to move to the road, but Leo, doesn't this just point bring it to what I've always said, that every problem we have, to me, is leadership. Because David, why would a person have the confidence, the boldness to say it? Because me, you just say, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe and someone in your brave the Thomas who David say, Obekana maybe from one, Obejedi. Obekana maybe a onini, Obia on Leo, Obekabia, own comes why. There are certain things you say to make us on here. So, David, for the person to have the confidence, not dump, not one, not two, about 10 refrigerators in a drain,
20 or more.
So it tells you, say, Leo, I don't know if you get it.
Yeah.
For someone to have that
confidence,
it's routine for them. It's normal for them.
So if the president or the local government minister says, well, this is what happened in this area, he calls the MCE there. He says, I don't know how it happened. You remove him from office. When he brings somebody else, he will make sure that he identify who does it, punish the person, and then would have the peace of mind that we're looking for.
So why is it that when foreigners come here, especially those from Europe and other developed countries, if you talk to some of them about these things, toilet or the better form. It's not that we don't have people there who illiterate. There are plenty of people there who litter same way we do here.
They've been groomed.
But yes, the grooming.
That's why the Japanese goes to the World Cup, the stadium after they clean.
They clean.
It's part of them.
Oh yeah, you bet.
No, but it's not about chill. Listen, when a Ghanaian is walking by the shoulder of our streets right now, he feels like we win. What will he do?
You just pull it somewhere and then.
Number two, if he's chewing sugarcane, orange, or even eats from a poly bag or whatever bag it is, he flips it. Take that same Ghanaian to the UK or the US, or better.
System.
Exactly. So it is our system that is failing us.
Yeah.
It is our system that is creating the problem we have right now.
Leadership.
The leadership.
Yeah.
And for me, when sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, and it was like the president said, we sit down for the bogu. Said we sit down and so so if you invest in it and it's been demolished, like the Greater Accra Nadmo boss says a couple of weeks ago when we played that soundbite, that they want to demolish and then you go back to build again and I have to demolish. What will you tell me?
Happened 1 week prior to Mama going to the UK. What has happened to the MCE?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It's just like I'm saying MCEs and DCEs. So listeners, you've heard the president, his response to the flooding issue in Accra, but by extension in Ghana, Kumasi included. And he says that for those people who are signing documents and certificates and allowing people to build in unauthorized areas, they're not going to be transferred up north. They're going to be sacked. You heard him. Right answer. Do you trust his response? We'll be coming to you shortly for your own thoughts on this matter. Then another question came about accidents on our roads. And indeed, what does the data say? First quarter 2026.
So first quarter 2026, 109 people died in the first quarter. So let me read for you the Ghanaian Times report. So as a precursor to the story. Now it says that a total of 1,009 persons were killed in road traffic crashes across the country between January and April this year. Despite a marginal decline in road fatalities compared to the same period last year, the National Road Safety Report has revealed the figure represents a decrease of just 2 deaths. So when you compare January to April last year, 1,011 died, but this year January and April 1,009. So
reduction of 2. Yes. Okay, but also don't forget that these are reported cases.
Yes, so
there are several accidents that are not reported, so they are not documented. Yeah. There are several crashes where people have gotten injured. It's all part of the data that Eugene shared with us.
I touch wood. This figure, if we don't take it by the close of the day,
so let me break it down for you so that I get it. It's 4 months, so 1,002 divided by the 4 months is averagely 250 deaths every month, and that's an average of 8 deaths a day.
2 years ago, that's what the data we got. That each and every day in Ghana, 8 to 10 people die on our roads every day. So today, for example, the 2nd of June, between 8 and 10 people will die. Yeah. On our road, through crashes and accidents, 8 or 10 people will die.
The last time David and I did the last 10 years, you remember last 10 years, it was more than some entire constituencies in Ghana.
So this is a question to the president about accidents on our roads. And this is the answer of the response the president gave to the person who asked the question. Take a listen.
And he spoke about accidents, many of us have lost relatives or through accidents, or they've been permanently injured and disabled because of road accidents. Now the main reason is multiple. There are many reasons for it. One, our licensing regime is a problem. People are able to get driver's licenses without going through the rigorous testing that they have to go through to be able to get the licenses. And then the second one is also the road infrastructure. Ghana has maintained the old road infrastructure that was left us by the British. And these roads were single lane highways. And so you have one traffic going in one direction and another coming in the other direction. That is a recipe for accidents, because wrong judgment in overtaking leads to head-on collisions. And so we have taken a decision, and I'm happy the road minister is here under the big push. Major roads, that is our busiest roads, are being dualized. And so you would have 4 lanes, 2 lanes on one side going in the same direction, and 2 lanes on the other side coming in the same direction, so that the issue of single lane overtaking and collisions will be a thing of the past. And so the Accra, Winneba, Mankesem, Cape Coast Takrade Road, which is one of our busiest roads, is being converted into a dual course highway. The Accra, Ada to Aflawo Road, which is another of our biggest roads, is also being turned into a dual course highway. But then the iconic one is the Accra-Kumasi Expressway. And I'm pleased to inform our traditional ruler that work has actually started. We've given the 48th Engineers Regiment of the Ghana Army the contract to clear the roadway, and they've started. As I was leaving Ghana, they have cleared 51 kilometers of the road. And that new road is going to reduce the traveling distance between Accra and Kumasi from 270 kilometers to 198 kilometers. So one is going to be shorter, and two is going to be a 6-lane expressway. So there'll be 3 lanes going in one direction and 3 lanes coming in the other direction. And in all the major towns, it's not going to go through any major town. It's bypassing all the towns. If you get to Asamankesi, there'll be an off-ramp. You go on the off-ramp, you come under the bridge, and then you go to Asamankesi. If you get to Akimodan, you go off the off-ramp, and you go to Akimodan. If you get to Ofuasi, who's from Ofuasi, you go off the off-ramp, and you go to Ofuasi. If you get to, what do they call it, Bosomtri, you go off the off-ramp and you go to Bosomtri. So it's not going to go through any major urban development.
All right, so that was the president's response. And we truncated it along the line, but he also touched on the licensing regime. He says that we're going to ensure that we tighten the acquisition of licenses and all that. If I may start with this one, and I'd like to, first of all, begin with the licensing regime. How do we ensure that people who go for these licenses are people who have gone through, to borrow the president's words, who have gone through the rigorous processes? We know of Goro boys who have...
What is a rigorous process?
So they lay down...
First of all, I think that we need to define what a rigorous process is.
So there is a routine. There's something you have to go. So you go through training on the road. And then you go through a classroom training as well, so you get to know the road signs, everything about it, speed limits. The speed limits for when you're driving on a highway, you're getting to a town, the speed limit you have, all those basic things. There are road signs that says, well, this is a curve. You don't overtake in a curve. There are people who are overtaking in a curve. Look at that Voxy driver on that Crackmaster stretch and the kind of overtaking he was doing.
Is a mentally
exactly. So for me, somebody
rigorous describes something extremely thorough, careful, and rigidly accurate. It means applying high standards that leave no room for error, omission, or logical fallacy. Whether you are following strict rules, conducting scientific research, or performing detailed data analysis.
What a definition.
So,
let it take it.
So rigorous describes something extremely thorough, careful, and rigidly accurate. It means applying high standards that leave no room for error, omission, or logical fallacy, whether you are following strict rules, conducting scientific research, or performing detailed data analysis.
So that is rigorous. Is that what we go through? I would say yes. Does it really? Not all the time, not for everybody, because there are people who, through the Goro boys, get their driver's licenses and they drive anyway. But then again, there are people who may go through the same rigorous exercise, but in it, per their nature, they've gone through it, but it does not, they don't apply it. I'm thinking that we need to do what other serious countries or jurisdictions do. You might have gone through that rigorous training all right, gotten your license all right, but when you don't do the right things on our road, we seize your license, we withdraw it. Just like happens to when Rooney went to drink alcohol, and then his license was revoked.
Yeah.
But if we don't want to do this revocation of licenses, our men in white and black, will they really also live up to the expectation and do what is right? I think that we need to have cameras all over. So we pick some of these reckless drivers and punish them accordingly. Because listen, yes, I agree. If one vehicle is going in one direction, another is coming from the other direction, and there's somebody who is silly enough to overtake in a curve, you might hit, or there will be a crash. But in that same regard, even when you're going in one direction in 3 lanes, and people are overspeeding foolishly because the president says, oh, you can do the Accra Kumasi trip in 2 hours. So you are speeding on a 3-tier road. You might want to do an overtaking where you would cross somebody and the person will hit you from the rear. In fact, even on this Kumasi Tekalonga stretch, the barricades there, don't we have people driving into them? They're going in one particular direction, but they hit the gate rats or the rat gates or whatever it's called. You understand? So for me, I think that in as much as we need development and we need more roads, what we need to do is enforcement. Because somebody wants to test the might of his vehicle. So you see a new road, I found 3 cars at a time on one stretch. Let me test the might of my vehicle and drive anyhow. You can have a mechanical fault that will create a problem on the road. You might have a vision problem that can create a problem on the road. I would like some expert. That's why I wanted to call our experts, but we want to reschedule it properly. I want to know by how many percentage are we going to reduce road crashes when we have this new road constructed? By what percentage?
The reason why, for me, the rigorous testing is important is, for instance, in the UK, before you get a driver's license, they even test you on your knowledge of the city itself. Roadway, infaneda. Udu Johnson is now busa kef we are infaneda ubisi. So ubi arena so ordinary free with point A to point B. What is the best route for you to take? All that knowledge you need to know.
In as much as hold on. In as much as what you're saying is true, and it happens in the UK, it happens in the US. Don't they have crashes?
Oh, there are exceptions to every rule. So
because people don't conform and comply.
Let me land. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen over there. You made the example of Rooney. I understand that. But I'm saying the reason why that is important is, I'm giving you an example here. Our brothers and sisters from the north who drive Pragya. Oboduru Hanom only 3 months. Often free Tech Johnson class out the Neko Crow from Onimo as no trick at the way.
But people leave Ghana. They go to the US
and then they take them through that rigorous journey.
Listen,
before you are
if a person leaves Ghana and goes to the US, he drives. He doesn't go through any rigorous whatever. He takes an international driver's license.
David, I think that you are confusing them. Listen, Akuzo, that's not his first time going to that. The first time he went there, he didn't go there and started driving.
Ask him. I can tell you about my wife, Abba. She drives in the US.
How many? Because
and I am there for it. It's not being there for some whatever. You go there, all you need to do is to produce your driver.
So, Dave, you think the rigorous training for drivers is not important?
So, it's observation. That is why you're making mention of those Pragya riders. They are not using their heads. So, first of all, they are not going to
use their heads, because there are plenty of time. You know, imagine somebody coming from a place where there are more motorcycles
than
cars, right? So the orientation when they are on the road driving is centered around that kind of road system.
No, I came in because of the familiarity. I came in because of the bit of familiarity. That's why I came in.
Yeah.
That they should know the road.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that it's not always the case.
Yeah. So now they come here within a few.
There are people who drove from Ghana to the UK. Did they go through rigorous whatever they do there?
Those ones are isolated cases. We are talking about making sure the system works. And I'm not saying all the other factors are not important. Of course, it is important. We have to make sure that our enforcement regime really works and all of that. But I'm saying, if we are going to make this one work better, aside from the enforcement and all those things, our licensing regime needs to be tougher. When he said
it should be tougher, I mentioned the Goro boys. You even offer you. When we were playing the voice, what did you say about licensing? So what I'm saying is this: make it tough, all right. But that orientation, that rigorous training the person undergoes, the person comes on the road and he's a different human being altogether. So when the person knows that there are enforcements, when we have cameras installed, and then we have your data available, so you misconduct yourself, a camera picks it up, information is sent to you, you are fined, you know that somebody is watching. That is what is going to make us do the right thing, because if we have good roads, accidents happen on better roads. When you are driving and the road is bad, you take your time. When the road is good, you speed up anyhow. Listeners, you can join us now on 03220-83596, 03220-83597, 03220-83598. Don't forget that the president says he's on a reset agenda for Ghana. So everything he does, everything he says, he has at the back of his mind resetting Ghana. Out of the many things he was asked, we've picked 2. In the coming days, we'll be sharing a few more with you and then be analyzing them as well. But what do you make of the response the president gave in relation to the flood issues? He believes that if he goes about it the way he answered the question, flood will be a thing of the past in Ghana. In terms of the accidents, if we construct new roads, if we don't use the roads constructed and left for us by the British after they colonized us, he thinks that that's going to reduce accidents on our roads. With the 2 responses you've heard from the president, what are your thoughts? Is that the way to go, or you have issues and concerns about the answer? 03220-83596, 0322083597, 0322083598. So we have Abdullah on the line, we have Edward on the line, we have Kofi Bedu on the line. Kofi came through first. So Kofi, good morning, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave. Dave, you see, Mama, excellent brain indeed, deep thinker indeed. Have you ever come to the mind of any of our to punish those, the technocrats, the MCEs? Has ever come to any of? You see, if we are going about punishing them, that will serve as a deterrent to the MCEs and those technocrats are those, I mean, the municipal and district levels. But all that we know is go and demolish. Like what, I mean, the Greater Accra Minister is going about doing. I mean, she should help you slowly and punish those who looked on for all this to go on for the present. You could see electricity there. You could see that those there, they did not go there in the night or a day. So what I mean, just punishing those who went on burden and let those who are supposed to look to it to make sure that this thing does not happen. Good one for Mama. Excellent brain. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Kofi Bedu. But before we speak to Edward, even in the Galamsey fight, where he said we're going to sack some, DCs and MCs and all that, who has been sacked? Who has been sacked? Well, Edward, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, sir.
So share your thoughts with us. What do you want to talk to us about?
Once again, good morning and good morning to you. I want to just say something about the citing of statutes or the meeting of the government of statutes on wetlands. And then President's remarks of sacking the people who that have sanctioned those developments. But I want to say that approval of permits for development according to the Land Use and Special Planning Act at 925, there's a committee called the Special Planning Committee at MMDH. So it's not one individual that signs the permit. The structure is said that the application goes to the technical subcommittee, and the technical subcommittee reports to the Special Planning Committee with a prominent membership. So before the building is finally, the drawing is finally approved for development, it's not one individual.
But Edward, in as much as I agree with you, it is not one individual who does it, but there's a head that whose word supersedes all the other people who have to sign. True or false?
It's true, but then
if that head decides to do the right thing, then we will not be where we are right now. And if that head fails to do the right thing and he's removed, it will serve as a deterrent to other heads who will come.
Well, you see, I don't know whether you are cognizant with the composition of the committee. I mean, it cuts across. NAGMO is part, fire is part, land commission is part.
So I agree with you, Edward, but you realize that so it depends on which direction you're going to. The regional minister could be the head. The MCE could be the head. So if the MCE fails to sign it, the fire guys and the other guys,
well, I agree with ultimately the responsibility lies on the head, and for that matter, the head of team. But if you follow the laws, I mean, seriously, I don't think some of these things will be repeating in our, areas marked for wetlands and waterways.
Thank you very much, Edward, and keep listening to Love 99.5. We cherish you. Asari, you're on. Hold the line for us. Abdullah Sumaila is on before you came in, Asari. Abdullah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
What do you want to share with us this morning?
Yes, about the road accident, just like your colleague is saying, I think the vigorous training is important, and then also introducing these CCTV cameras and other things on our high roads is also important. And then the flood issues. As for the flood issues, just like you said, let us all blame the leaders and the traditional authorities. For example, the Kwame Ajuso Street road highway. When you get to Kwame, before you get to Jati Township, there is a project going on there. And so no much is no Kwame. We be so near and Kabako Kafanina, almost work on way project. And to authorities in Omui, city engineers in Omui, and then on way overhaul tra oko onim kojo so yi sa metro fm no ho wi ko he omo feel ho nyina de e ho susu ensu enum ye sa ensu no to a he fa na befa na president wo ka se oba sake ele won ko sake ye kan say omo hwe mo ye galamsey na ansa na wa ba we nu so on sake sample for he should sack those people before coming to deal with these people. Thank you. Well,
thank you very much. That was Abdullahi Sumala. Asari is next on the line, but you can also call us on 03220-83596, 03220-83597, and 03220-83598. Asari, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Your thoughts, please.
Okay. So, Dave, there's no serious country in the world that does not enforce laws. So if we really want to get solutions, we really want to improve our daily livelihoods, we have to start enforcing our laws. In fact, all the things that we are saying, we know the solutions to them. But the bottom line is we are not ready to go by what the law says. The road traffic laws, we know them. If they falter, we have to punish. We can even make money out of it. In elsewhere, that is what they use to even maintain their roads and pay some salaries. So I think we know our solutions, but just that we are not ready to enforce or use our solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asari, for joining us as well. Our last caller is on. Kofi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Kofi, let's hear you.
You see, Dave, 1960 was the first time we experienced severe flood in Accra. And since 1960, we have been experiencing flood in Accra year on, year in. So, we have not planned of, doing anything about it. Every year we will sit on radio and discuss flood in Accra. So, my question is, if the president is talking about flooding in Accra and the rest, what is he doing? You see, recently, Nigeria have moved their capital from Lagos to Abuja. What is the president doing? Why is it that if Accra is choked and a flood is disturbing them, why can't he plan of removing the capital from Accra to in between Kumasi and Sunyani? From Mankransut to Sunyani, there is a vast of land that can, be used as a new capital. So the authorities should think of removing the capital from Accra to Kumasi so that it will help decongest Accra, so that we will avoid yearly flooding.
Well, Kofi, thank you very much. And I like your submission. I think what I would add on to what Kofi said is, for me, the bit I disagree with Kofi is the movement of the capital from Accra. Accra can still remain as the capital. But what we need to do is to bring development to other regions. Ashanti region develop it well. Why people are migrating to Accra because of the benefits they're going to have in Accra.
That's because the capital is there.
But listen,
the reason why I agree with what Kofi is saying is that Accra and even Cape Coast, before we moved into Accra, was Cape Coast. All are coastal regions, right? During the colonial era, it was chosen based on how the colonial government was working. Now we are not being ruled by, we are not a colony anymore. So that purpose of, placing the capital where they can export easily, it doesn't really make sense anymore. Accra and Cape Coast and all these coastal areas can be the hub for export and import. Build it for several.
Why are people? Hold on. Why are people going to Accra?
It's because it's the capital. It
is not the capital. Listen, it's about development.
No, it's not about development.
Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Even in the Ashanti region. Okay, you land.
Yeah. So when it is moved from Accra or moved to the middle belt, then development can spread from the middle to other places much more easier.
It is not about development. It's not about the capital.
In terms of security, moving the capital to the middle is even better.
Let me help you here. It is not just about moving the capital. Do you have to move the capital before you bring development? No. What I'm saying is this: bring the development to the Bono area. When development is there, people can get jobs. People can have better healthcare. If the embassies would have stations that people can get their visas there and everything, that is development. Why would I come to Accra? If what I'm looking for, what I need is in Bono region, is in the Ashanti region, will I go to Greater Accra? Make a place a capital. Don't have development there. People go to where the development is. So what I'm saying is this: develop the region or the regions. There are enough jobs. There are enough amenities. There are a lot of things that people are looking for. They will not necessarily have to come to Accra. They will go to where the development is or where the development is taking place. When you get that, you reduce the number of people who go to the capital. It's not just about the movement of the name of the capital city.
Are we done?
No, I'm David, so I don't know about that. All right, so Shirley will be joining the team in Accra. I'm talking about the Super Morning Show. And, they began this month of May. What's wrong with me? This month of June, they have declared it as a month for agriculture. How do we become sovereignty? I mean, how do we stop importing the carrots from Morocco and Togo? How do we stop the importation of onions and tomatoes? How do we become, food sufficient? It all has to take a lot of, work from the government. So today, the conversation is going to be geared towards promoting what we have. That's going to be on the Super Morning Show, and it comes up your way after this.
Pick up the phone, call up the line. Call up the request line. Call up the line.